Hey everyone, this is Stephen Straughn at Cast Iron Cookware, where you can find information to help you better collect, restore, and use cast iron cookware. Today I'm not in the pan cave, I'm down in my shop. Probably want to call it my dungeon because I've kind of let it go a little bit. And I have some cast iron that my nephew brought by and wants me to kind of get them cleaned up for him to be able to resell, and I thought I'd share them with you. And I'm going to be doing that coming right up. Okay, like I said earlier, I have quite a few pieces of cast iron that belongs to my nephew, and he asked me if I would clean them up for him, and I was thinking, I really don't know. I don't have the time. You know, my day job keeps me pretty busy, and the YouTube's keeping me busy, and it's just one of those things. I don't do it for the public like I used to because it just takes so much time. But he said, if you can do something with it, I really would appreciate it, where I can probably sell them here and there. So I said, okay, reluctantly. But he's got quite a few pieces that I think I would like to add to my collection. Now, there's nothing really over the top, mostly just standard stuff, but I thought I'd share it with you. And some of the pieces I'm probably going to keep for myself. We got to work out a deal here. Instead of charging him, I'll probably take some pieces and then clean his up and let him sell his pieces. We just got to work it out. And I was down here trying to catalog this and trying to figure out which way to go. And I'm telling you, he's got about 150 pieces here. And I'm just going to show you what we've got. Kind of go over a few pieces, let you see what it looks like before I start restoring. Now, granted, it's going to take a little while to get these done. So we might not see the finished product for quite a while. So let me pan around and let you take a look at them. Okay, here is the table. Probably about 150 pieces. Now you'd say these here are so rusty and so bad that who would want them? But you would really be surprised how these will turn out. There's a lot of muffin pans, and we're going to go over these here in just a minute. Not the whole set, but quite a few Dutch ovens, mostly Lodge. There's a BSR or two in there. Got a lot of stack of number 3s, number 5s, some 8s. Just a kind of a hodgepodge. Some extremely pitted, some not so bad. This one right here was really interesting. This is a Birmingham stove and range enamel piece. Now we have a little bit of a rust ring on the heat ring, where the heat ring has been rubbed off. But it's a nice little piece. It's a Century. There was an entire set of these made, not by BSR, but by another company that actually bought the finished product of BSR and went back and enameled them and resold them as an aftermarket. So let's get our camera back on the stand, and I'll pick up a few pieces and just talk about them. Now, when you get a large stack of pieces like this, the first thing you're going to want to do is have you some kind of a flat surface. Now, I have this 12-inch tile, and it's a really good piece that's good to test. You can put your pieces on there and tell whether or not they're flat or if they wobble or spin or whatever, and you get an idea. It's kind of hard to tell when a piece is flat in the wild because they'll look flat, you get them home and they spin like a top. Now, I have a tendency to look down. I'll line up the heat rings like you would the side of a gun and kind of look, but sometimes you can't really tell that way. Now, if you get a piece that you know is going to be flat, this little Birmingham stove and range cornbread pan, it's going to be flat. So if you run across a piece like this, you can use it to test. Of course, the heat ring's got to fit, and that is nice and flat because these here have all these extra supports. They don't warp. So that's a good little trick. If you can find the cornbread skillet, there you have a flat surface. Now, if your heat ring is bigger than the cornbread skillet, then you're just stuck. Or you can take a newer piece that you don't think is going to be so likely to be warped. Now, here's a newer Lodge with a helper handle. So I would be pretty sure, not always, that it would be flat. And there we have it. No movement at all. So I have taken and set a piece on the concrete floor and checked it out. But all concrete floors are not alike, especially when you go into the old antique malls and they have probably been finished with concrete 100 years ago and settled and cracked and everything else. So resurfaced, so you may not get a flat surface. So you kind of take a chance when it comes to wobble. Of course, if it wobbles a little, it's not so bad. The less wobble, the better. Perfectly flat is best. Here's some of the notable pieces. I done mention the enameled Birmingham stove and range. Now here's a Lodge with a helper handle. It doesn't have a Lodge written on it. It's a little older. Of course, it has the Lodge logo and it has the groove instead of the raised heat ring. It's a nice little piece. Now it is going to clean up good. It's got some surface rust on it, but it's not pitted at all. I don't feel any pits. Now here's a Birmingham stove and range that has been used quite a bit. It probably has a 1/16 of an inch of crud all over it and probably an 1/8 of an inch around the edges. It's a number 5. I believe it's going to be a Century, but it's hard to tell. It could be a Red Mountain with small pour spouts, but I think it's going to clean up pretty good. Now we have a Lodge, 3-notch Lodge with a blob right here. You see these blobs? That particular blob has a number 3 on it, which I believe it denotes what shift. I believe it was made by the graveyard shift, 3rd shift. Like I mentioned earlier, we have a Birmingham stove and range cornbread skillet. This is a patent pending. This was made probably the 1st or 2nd year of production of these. I believe these were made in 1967. I'm not totally sure about this one. It doesn't have a lid. It is kind of rusty, but not really pitted. I believe it is a Franklin bean pot. Tell by the handle, the sides, and the bottom. It doesn't have a lid, but if it is indeed a Franklin bean pot, it'd be worth keeping, hoping that you'll run across a lid. Now lids are harder to find than the bottoms. Here's a Lodge, made in USA, cornbread skillet. Now it's got the hole in it. That's one way you can tell the difference from Lodge and Birmingham stove and range. The hole, the handle, and it's a little newer. They actually got the patents from Birmingham stove and range during the settlement. We have another Lodge. It just has a 2. It doesn't have CB on there or anything, made in USA. So it's a little bit older, worth having. And we have a Wagner wire Sydney O square skillet. It doesn't appear to be pitted. It's the one with the thumb hole and the square-ended handle. Now, it's got some specks on it. It looks like pitting. It may come clean without actually have pits in it. So we'll see how that turns out. There's 3 little muffin pans in this little set. That one doesn't have anything on it. This one, the same, doesn't have anything on it. Pretty much the same muffin pan. And it's 8, 9, 10, 11 cup muffin pan. This one is the same. It actually has made in USA on the back, and it's a little more rusty. Evidently, it's a little newer. All 3 of these are pretty nice. It just says made in USA. Let's see, made in USA. I may see about keeping those. This is one that I have shown a lot on my channel. Now the one I have is a Cracker Barrel. This is a Lodge. Of course, I believe my Cracker Barrel was made by Lodge for Cracker Barrel. But it'd be nice to have a variation in my collection. Now this little beauty is, I believe it's a Lodge. It doesn't have the maker on it, and it's not a gate mark piece. It's a Turk's head pan. Now, these things here, I've had one before that I bought at a yard sale. I think I paid $8 for it, cleaned it up, and sold it for like $40 or $45. But I'm telling you, I put $40 worth of labor in it because every one of these little grooves have to have attention. And then when you season it, every one of these little grooves have to have attention, front and back. And I'm telling you, you'll go through a box of Q-tips seasoning one of these. They are definitely hard. I wish I had kept the one that I seasoned before because there was so much labor in it, I should have just kept it. It's going to be a beauty when I get done. If you've seen one of my videos where I purchased the cracked flat bottom pot, Birmingham stove and range, check out these nice Elvis sideburns right here. And it's a flat bottom. This one, I believe, is a Red Mountain because it just has 8B. It doesn't have a descriptive lettering. It says FBP, flat bottom pot. And it's got a little D right there. It's got some rust in it. It's not pitted, but I do believe the rust goes a little deeper than the surface. But I think once you put a layer of seasoning on it, it'll smooth it right out. I have a little stack of number 3s here that I would like to keep. Now this here is a Red Mountain. This is a Red Mountain number 3, small pour spouts. Nothing really notable about it, but I just really love number 3s. I just got a thing for number 3s. And here is a Wagner wire, Sydney O. And of course, here's the handle right there. And this is a smooth bottom. Nothing really notable. There's not a whole lot of notable pieces here, but I don't have a Sydney O number 3, and I thought this is a 1053. Oh, it's got the number on it. I thought, you know, I like number 3s a lot. So I got another little number 3. I think I've got one of these. I believe this one right here is a Vollrath. Not so old, but you can kind of tell by the heat ring. The heat ring is a little rounded. It's not really sharp, even though it's on the outside. Of course, there we have the handle type. But it's a number 3, and I'm a sucker for number 3s. I just picked out some that I thought I didn't have. Now here's just a plain Lodge. Now, nothing wrong with that. We have a Century Series, number 3. A Red Mountain, number 3, small pour spouts. Sydney O. BSR Red Mountain. Sydney O again. Sydney O. Wagner Sydney O. Wagner Sydney O. Last but not least, a dirty little number 3 Birmingham stove and range. We're going to try to get these cleaned up for my nephew where he can pass it along to somebody who can take care of them. And I'm telling you, all of these pieces are going to be restored. There's a lot of history into this stack. Even though there's nothing extremely notable, they are all worth collecting and saving. Okay, here we got a stack of number 5s. Now I want this one. This is one I like to keep because it is a number 5 with 2 dots. I think those 2 dots will signify that it was a second shift pour. And the little 5 looks a little bit hand scribed. I like the hand scribed pieces. This is a Red Mountain. The pour spouts are small, but I think it is one of the earlier small pour spout Red Mountains. We have another, which is a 3-notch Lodge. You can't hardly tell it. It looks pretty good. It's 3 notches. Nothing really dramatic except for it's a number 5 Lodge, 3-notch. Wagner Sydney O. Not a bad looking piece. It'll go with that little number 3 Wagner Sydney O that I have, that I'm planning on keeping. Now we have a Birmingham Stove and Range number 5. You probably can't see it. It has 1 dot. And I believe that signifies first shift. I only see the 1, 2, and 3 dots. So that's why I really do believe that is a shift denotation. And the reason why I like to keep this, because I would like to be able to share it whenever I show pieces. Oh, here's a first shift, here's a second shift. Just a nice little thing to add. Here is another Birmingham Stove and Range. And look at them big ears. This is a good way to kind of, here we have the small ears, big ears. Non-Dumbo and Dumbo. The big ears are more desirable, and the person who had this one was probably curious. That looks like a hand scribed number 5. It's a big pour spout piece, and I believe that is a hand scribed number 5. It's worth keeping. Of course, even if it wasn't, it's worth keeping. We have a number 5 3-notch Lodge. And this little scribing right here, it looks hand scribed. It's got a little bit of a style to it. That is a 3-notch Lodge, and I like the hand scribed pieces. And it has a little bit of a style to it, and I like that. Here is another, what I'm really wanting to get into. Now this one right here looks like a Birmingham Stove and Range with big pour spouts, but this is neat. It's got a number 5 on the handle, which is kind of strange. And on the back, we have the ridge, and the crazy part, it's got a smooth bottom. The jury is still out on the smooth bottom BSRs. Now I know they make a smooth bottom pot, they make a smooth bottom Dutch oven, a smooth bottom chicken fryer. But nobody has come out and said, we know for sure that Birmingham Stove and Range made smooth bottom skillets. But these things are popping up everywhere. And if one day we find out that they are Birmingham Stove and Range, it will be something cool. But I'll say this, the handle is a little bit thin. So maybe not Birmingham Stove and Range, but they're put together really well. They're nice and slick. So I want a set of them, and this will get me started. Now, moving up in number, we're going to go to the number that's always kind of hard to find pieces in, and that is number 6. Here's a 3-notch Lodge SK. It's not a made in USA, but it's SK. I really would like to do some research on the timeline of Lodge, because they have changed incrementally all the way through their production, and you see additions, which is great when you're looking at a timeline. And I would like to have a timeline of the Lodge incremental changes. It would be amazing. Here's another number 6 with a blob, and it's got a number 2, and I really like these because they're number 6s. Here's another 3-notch Lodge, number 6. It's got a T at the top and a 2 at the bottom. Very possibly the 2 is a shift mark, but I'm not really sure. It's a little bitty 2. And of course it looks pretty good. Another number 6, pretty much the same. It's got the 6, and the mark up here is a 6. Probably a mold mark. And down here, it just has a little bit of a little bump. Not even a blob. But I thought it was notable enough to want to keep. Another number 6, pretty much the same thing. 3-notch lodge. Can't really tell. There's not a blob. But I think it's pretty much the same as the others. And this one right here I thought was really interesting. It's a number 7's here, and it is a national. And here is the handle. I like the straight-sided outside heat ring. I like the fact that it's a number 7, and it's flat. Even though it seems to be a little shiny on the middle, the heat ring is tall enough to take care of that. I believe on the inside you might have a little bit of a curvature there, but it will sit flat on a glass stovetop because the heat ring is still flat, even though there's a little bit of a slight bow in the bottom. Definitely a keeper. Okay, going down the list of number 7s, we're up to a blob. Now we've got a blob right here, and I don't know if it's a 1, 2, or 3. It's a number 7, 3-notch lodge. It may be a 2, maybe a 3. Really won't know till we get it cleaned. We have a Red Mountain number 7 Birmingham stove and range. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Red Mountain number 7s, even though they're a little on the heavy side, is probably my favorite skillet of all times. Not the most expensive, but probably the best little skillet you'll ever have. It's thick enough to sear a steak without cooling down too quickly. It doesn't weigh a whole lot. It's not too awfully big. Perfect size, perfect weight. Now we have another Birmingham stove and range. And it's a number 7, Red Mountain. Now it's got pitting all the way up the side of it. It's not too big of a problem. I mean, I'll take that. But what was interesting is it's got the 7, and the 7's kind of pitted over. Got the G, and then it's got a dash out the side. I thought that was an interesting little thing. So anything different to me is more collectible. Number 7, Red Mountain, big pour spouts with a Y mold mark. Okay, another number 7, Red Mountain, big pour spout piece. I like it because it's a number 7, and I really love Birmingham stove and range number 7s. Now let's get some bigger pieces. Here is a lodge, 3-notch lodge with a blob, and it is looks like a number 3 blob. And it looks pretty good. And all of these, in the ones I've been showing you, are all dead flat. Now here we have another 3-notch lodge. Can't really tell anything about it. It doesn't look like it has a blob or anything. Just a straightforward number 8. Now there's not a lot of high dollar pieces, just kind of generic. Here's the 3-notch lodge, made in USA. I think it's going to clean up beautifully. Another 3-notch lodge. Doesn't say made in USA. Birmingham stove and range, 8S. I like the S's, and it looks hand scribed. S for Strawn, or S for Stephen. We have an 8H, hand scribed. See if I can get that cleaned up a little bit. Of course, it's got big pour spouts. Red Mountain, number 8, definitely worth keeping. Now there are a lot more pieces here. I probably showed you about 30, and there's probably about 150 here. Now I tried to show you the most notable. Now there's a few oddball pans, but nothing really that interesting. Now when I get them cleaned up, if I run across something that I need to share, I will definitely share. And I plan to share when I get them cleaned up, just to kind of show how they turned out. I may try to do it before and after. I just don't know if it's going to be feasible to try to do it all. But I need to get to work on them. But I just wanted to share. Now, a lot of people will look at these and say, that is a lot of junk. But I'm telling you, if these were all cleaned up, ready to go, and seasoned, retail, I would say this pile here would probably be worth about $2,000. There's probably about $1,000 worth of labor in it. Now, he did buy these from another friend of mine. Thanks a lot, Jeremy Ulbrich. So you know who you are, and I think everybody out there who's into cast iron knows who Jeremy Ulbrich is. My nephew, seen him on Facebook and said, hey, I'll be interested in them because my uncle will fix them. But we will take care of them because he knows I love cast iron. I just want to say I hope that you've enjoyed this video, even though I'm not in the pan cave and I'm down in the dungeon. And I just want to say thank you for watching and being a part. You can also follow Cast Iron Cookware on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Check out our Patreon page if you would like to support Cast Iron Cookware in a more monetary way. You can also be a part of our Facebook group called Cast Iron Cookware, and you can sign up to receive emails from Cast Iron Cookware, and I send them about every 2 or 3 weeks or so, sometimes a little longer. But I'm trying to get on schedule and be a little more, regular with it. You can sign up for that. I will leave a link in the video description to all of these sites below. You'll check it out. And I just want to say again, thank you so much for watching Cast Iron Cookware. Before we go, I just want to share something with you really quick. In Hebrews chapter 4, verse 12, it says, "For the word of God is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of the soul and spirit, and of the joints and marrow, and it is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart." And I just want to say, share the word and be a blessing.